I, like many of you, have a little bit of a fear in buying in a place with 10,000 people or 12,000 people, 20,000 people, and that's okay.
If the university is expanding, it kind of is a reflection of the fact that one, people are attracted to this area, right? And two, you're creating jobs in the future.
Yeah, right? I think even if you crunch down the time period and go 1 year, I suspect Bendigo will do fairly well because of that change story.
It's more attractive to me right now in the next 6 months. I think it'll be faster than Geelong.
In this episode, we're going to go through the next satellite city that is going to benefit from the Melbourne property boom that is happening very much before our eyes right now. In this episode, we're going through Bendigo, another location where I just spent some time. Adi, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to do this one.
Yeah? Tell me, what do you know about Bendigo?
Very little. No, I'm just kidding. Let's go through that. It's quite a bit of research here. So, population of Bendigo, smaller than the one that we mentioned. It's about 130,000, right, at the moment. And it's projected to go to 172,000 by 2046 over the next 20 years. So there's a bit of a population movement happening. So it is growing. There are people who want to live in Bendigo, wherever it might be. You know, I think it's a couple of hours from Melbourne. So it's fun. And I think you went there.
You picked up something. It's a couple of hours away from Melbourne. Bendigo is really an interesting marketplace because we talked about the data frameworks for Geelong.
Yeah.
And I think in this podcast, we're going to come out with, let's do a quick little ranking for everyone. So we're in the middle of this series. Geelong, Bendigo, Ballarat. If you just had a quick ranking between them.
Sure.
My sense is Bendigo might be top of the list.
Yes. Ask me why.
Why?
It's got a fun name. No, I'm kidding. So I like two things about it. Bendigo is, you're going to get the capital growth, right?
Yep.
And it hasn't had the kind of surge that Geelong has had. So your yields are actually quite healthy as well. So I like it for that reason. The stories are similar. It's a smaller market than Geelong. That's fair. But the opportunity for that balanced portfolio that you want, especially at the start of your journey, I would say is more prevalent in Bendigo. So it is a subjective matter, you know. So if I had to rank them, I would put Bendigo slightly higher. But I'll reframe this because I always like to be annoying when I give this, you know, my favorite, not favorite. If I'm looking at a long-term horizon, I would back the economy that goes from 270 and, you know, up by 60% over the next 20 years versus the one that's, you know, 42% over the next 20 years because, yeah, people drive housing demand and over the next 20 years, Geelong is where I would want to be. But if it's a next 10-year play and you want that balance in your portfolio, I would be erring on the side of Bendigo.
Yeah, I think even if you crunch down the time period and go 1 year, I suspect Bendigo will do fairly well because of that change story that we're talking about. So let's just quickly recap this as to why are we talking about these three markets in the first place? It's because a lot of our conversations that we have with people are, I want to buy in Melbourne. It's where I want to be. Yep. I want to buy a house. I want land content, but I also don't want a 4% yield. And that is a challenging brief.
Correct. It is.
It's challenging because rents in Melbourne are lower and that creates pressure for households to actually own investment properties. I also like these markets because of that structural change in our buying marketplace that I touched on, where a lot of the major buyers agents that are buying 200 properties per month, maybe 300 properties per month across 4 or 5 major institutions now, that is a lot. And whether it's admitted or not, it's quite apparent that many of those same transactions are multiple companies buying in the same marketplace at the same time. So that really changes dynamics very quickly in smaller markets. Now, they're all looking for yield. They all have the same criteria. They must have yield. So I suspect the majority of them won't even enter Melbourne.
Yep.
They might just be like, nah, not suited for my clients because I need to get this yield. It's part of the strategy we have for all of our clients. So they may just skip Melbourne altogether. If they all congregate into the Melbourne metro markets, the Melbourne satellite cities, I think Bendigo is where they'll go. I think that could happen before Geelong in a short time period. So you could see pretty unexpected rapidness in price change because of this one small subtle change that's happening in the marketplace. Much like Mildura.
Interesting.
Is that fair to say? Like
I think it is. Yeah, 12 months ago there was no one there. I think I mentioned this sort of to you in the previous podcast. Yeah.
You told me your property's up 30%. You bought it like
that's right.
how long ago?
12 months on the day almost. Yeah.
12 months ago, you bought your Mildura and it's up 30%.
I mean, it's a perception thing, but I could
What did you buy for?
343.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I could take the same house, put it back on the market, and have 20 buyers agents just fight over themselves and pay maybe 430, 440.
I love it.
Because these houses just don't exist in Mildura anymore. You know, it's very rare. It was just me, literally. It was just me and my partner.
Yeah.
We were negotiating on the basis of $500. So
I got told, Adi, I should tell you this. We may as well just talk about it openly with everyone in the podcast. Last night I was going through some comments and stuff being like, hey, Reedham just bought in Darwin, now he's pumping it. I'd be like, anyone who watches this will probably know that I haven't bought in Darwin, that I don't own in Mildura. And we have talked about Mildura for a number of reasons. Correct. As to it pops up on our radar all the time. And it's very, very clear. It's a market on the rise, doing really, really well. And you've already sort of encapsulated that and benefited from that. We're here trying to unpack the next one.
Correct.
It's not in our it's not in our vested individual interest to be like, I own in Darwin or you do own in Mildura. That's not the point here. It's more of just hey, where should we look and why, and just sharing all of that with you, and that transparency component is there. So that is it. That is the agenda here. Just sharing that information and trying to help you make better decisions. Everyone will have their own perspective on this, but that's something that will naturally happen in the chair that we have nowadays. It's just like, copy some hate.
Yeah, but to be honest, man, you're a humble dude. Here's my framing of this. You're an adult. No one's forcing you to go buy in Mildura or Darwin or Melbourne Metro. I'm not sitting here thinking, I will incentivize you to go buy in these places. There's no such thing. I'm saying I bought there 12 months ago. Yes, the property has done well because I know how to read data well. I know what's coming in 6 months, 12 months. So this is not a matter of whether you go buy there or not. I'm not pumping anything. I can't pump a city of, a regional town of 60,000 people. I don't have that kind of clout, right? But what I will say is you are an adult, make adult decisions. Don't go on YouTube and write comments about, how we're pumping markets. We're just here sitting in a chair trying to share education, right? Whether I have a property there or not is irrelevant. I wasn't in this chair 12 months ago when I bought this.
Oh, the same comment, Tommy. They said all of that, and then they said, hey, Reedham, what are your thoughts on X market?
Yeah,
it's just like, you live in X market.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually the most common request we get on APT now. It's actually the most common request. We're like, hey, can you talk about this particular suburb? I'm like, why? That's weird.
I know which suburb you're talking. Actually, I don't. But it's going to do terribly.
I live here. I live here.
That's right. Please talk about
it. You don't want me to. And sometimes we talk about some areas that aren't very favourable.
That's right.
And
if you happen to live there, and you're writing interesting comments.
Yes. I got an interesting phone call this morning about you, actually.
Oh, did you?
Noble Park.
Okay.
Did you grow up in Noble Park?
I did.
Yeah. He just like grew up in Noble Park and he was just trashing the area. He was also from Noble Park.
Okay,
I think he went to the same high school as you.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was just talking about...
Jeez, he's still around. Wow.
He's still around. He's 2 years older than you. And he just started talking about Noble Park as a location in some of the areas. Very, very interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, let's circle back.
Yes.
You touched on something really, really cool there where you just said you read data.
Yes.
Tell me...
Tea leaves, it's all tea leaves.
Tell me the tea leaves. What do the tea leaves say about Bendigo, man?
So, Bendigo, great economy. The Bendigo Hospital, $630 million. You don't build a hospital that's worth that much if there's not enough people or demand there. So that's huge. I love that. The Morong Business Park, this is something I was reading actually a couple of days ago. They plan to sort of build this almost employment precinct, like not far from the Bendigo CBD. I think we spoke about Golden Square, I believe, in one of the other... other podcasts, is going to benefit from that, right? It's close by. That's where people would want to live. So, Maiden Gully is another one that I picked up on. That's another suburb there. Definitely future housing demand coming to these pockets as a result of this business park.
So many nuggets of wisdom there.
Dude, it's actually very exciting. I'm thinking of buying there now that I'm reading my notes. It's very exciting. Bendigo Airport. I was actually reading this airport plan thing and I was like, I wonder what kind of upgrades are happening there. Do you mind if I just rattle this off? This is directly from the Bendigo Council website.
Go for it. People love it.
The city has completed stage 1 of the Bendigo Airport redevelopment, which included a new terminal, car park, 9 business park lots, services infrastructure, and expanded approximately, I don't know how much square meters, I seem to have missed the number here. Stage 2 of the development will include a business park consisting of 14 airside lots, and associated taxiways, 6 landslide lots, and an extended car park. I don't know what landslide lots are, but they sound fancy. And the fact that they're building them, and 6 of them.
So the airport's getting an upgrade.
It is.
Right?
But from your perspective, as the economist guy, why would an airport get such a revamp? And why would they build it
In the
to
first
that
place.
degree? Yeah.
Yeah, people are going there. That would be the obvious reason. It may need some renewal as well over time. Importantly, what this triggers is activity. And when there's activity, that improves jobs, that improves incomes, that improves housing demand. And it happens fairly quickly during that construction period as well. Yep. And I really like infrastructure once because it creates the immediate uplift in job creation, but it also creates a productivity increase over a period of time, which then creates more of a structural shift. If you think of this is a population, so I'm using my hands here for anyone watching, but if you think of a population that is growing at this sort of rate, when you have a change in what's possible, like an infrastructure change, you can shift the curve upwards completely and change the percentage rates of growth. Sydney Metro is exactly that example. It allows our city, one of, in my opinion, the greatest city in the world. I know you're from Melbourne, so I did want to say that very specifically.
No, I agree with you. Melbourne's very cold, so I agree with you.
Okay.
Sydney's nicer.
But what this sort of does is it completely changes what infrastructure does is it creates so much job creation while it's actually happening. So I'm using Sydney Metro as an example because it happened all around me. It creates a lot of jobs. Obviously, the Sydney economy is huge, so like it's just absorbed in that. Barely makes a dent in the overall amount, but that's what happens while it's happening. But afterwards, once it's completed, it changes the way a city operates and it improves the productivity of that city, which then increases population growth rates. It increases incomes at a very structural level, and you don't notice it in a 1 year sort of trajectory. But no one is buying property over 1 year. They're holding these sort of properties for decades. It changes the slope of what's possible over a period of time at an income level, and that income level change from that productivity improvement of infrastructure goes through. So that's part of the reason why I look at the type of infrastructure as well. An airport upgrade definitely gets a version of that, a little bit different too. Different types of a school upgrade is a bit different. That is often meeting existing capacity problems.
Sure.
But these sort of ones really change.
What about university upgrades?
That's good.
Yeah.
Because it creates income as well.
Correct.
Typically, new universities.
Yes.
And successful universities increasing their size. It's really, really important. But again, the university and education sector in Australia is actually non-driven by the individual, like domestic economy so much. It's an external factor. We export. It's the third biggest export to the world. So education investments in Australia, it's a little bit like our Silicon Valley. That's probably the best way to describe it. Australia's Silicon Valley is education. We are not a tech powerhouse. We do not export our tech to the world, but we are an education powerhouse. We export our education to Asia. And when you have investments in a university and that profile of that university increases and its capacity size increases, it allows that export size to increase. That makes sense. A little bit like building a mine. It's just education is a service version of mine, which is a bit different.
A bit more commodity. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
Why did you ask about the uni? Is it about La Trobe?
No, that was more about because we referred to the Deakin University in Geelong, right? So I was curious. I mean, school is a capacity thing, but then university in my brain is like, but you're creating literally as soon as someone leaves, you're going to contribute into the job economy, right? So if the university is expanding, it kind of is a reflection of the fact that one, people are attracted to this area, right? And two, you're creating jobs in the future, right? Why would the Deakin University in Geelong get such an upgrade of, trying to house another 1,000 students? So very, very...
That one's a really interesting one. I don't think that's about people working in Geelong, though. I think that's more a function of, it sounds crazy because we're talking about people, right? But you're talking about the equivalent is you build a university, it's like building a mine. The people that come in, it's like selling the rocks. Like it's selling rocks to the world. We sell people to the rest of we sell education to the world, and that education is bought by people just buying it and getting smarter. But then they don't
necessarily stay in Geelong. They take that.
They often have to go back. They often the tailoring of our migration program is what are you doing here? You're not consuming out. You're not paying us $40,000 a quarter for our fees. Get out.
Get out.
Like
Go back to-
that's kind of the broader
Makes sense.
Australia story that's happening on the ground a little bit.
I feel like there's some stuff to
exists.
unpack there. That sounds
It exists.
Yeah,
It
it
exists.
does.
Australia is just doing what Australia should do,
Yeah.
like as an economy, and
course.
it's using its reputation and swinging its beauty around and being like, come to the most beautiful place in the world, swing it around and being like, cool, come in. And
I'm glad you went with the beauty reference.
yes. Bendigo,
Yeah.
speaking of which, is absolutely beautiful. You walk down that main city area. I was taken aback, like it's breathtaking in its beauty, and it is old school beauty. So we talked about Geelong a little bit.
Yeah.
Geelong has got like a vibe to it. It's just like, this place has energy. It's just like, okay, cool. This isn't a sleepy regional area at all.
That's right.
Bendigo, it is different. It isn't quite the vibe.
Half the size.
Much
It's got
smaller.
a bit of heritage vibe to it, doesn't it?
The housing stock is very much dilapidated as well.
Correct,
Like
yeah.
I saw a lot of really old homes there that, I could see construction activity increasing over time. It's a bit sleepier. It looks much more like a regional sort of location.
It does.
It's also a gold capital, right? That's where I went there to pan for some gold and look at gold being created. So it's the old economy of Australia that really is the history of Bendigo.
Correct. And I think that it's probably a good segue into some of the suburbs that we've been tracking. I know we already mentioned Golden Square and some of the sort of regional markets that I would keep my eye on if you're sort of after yield, after a little bit of growth as well. So we've talked about Golden Square. We've talked about Strathdale as well. Actually, we haven't talked about Strathdale, but Strathdale is a great option. It's a high income demographic as well relative to the rest of Bendigo, which is really, really cool. You'll see nicer houses in Strathdale. It's near really good schools, shops. The listings are very, very low. It is hard to find property in Strathdale, purely because it's just the hold periods in these places are quite high. Like people tend to like stay there for a long time,
Yes,
as you
you
could
can
probably tell. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm a fan of Strathdale. Strathdale actually came onto our radar a while back. So I think Strathdale, it might be one of the earliest movers in Bendigo in the next little win that they're getting. So it's actually quite interesting. If you were in Strathdale maybe 6 months ago, you've probably done relatively well. So very interesting. The last couple I'll mention for Bendigo to keep an eye on, Kennington.
Yes,
It's next to
my radar,
next to La Trobe Uni. It's close to the CBD. It's got consistent demand because it's close to the CBD. It has consistent demand from like professionals, downsizers. There's quite a few student activity there as well because of La Trobe University, like you said. Then there's White Hills as well. It's a quite a tighter market. It's a smaller market in the Bendigo sort of area. It's close to the hospital, Botanic Gardens. So the four that I've picked, Bendigo is quite a large place, right? I mean, nothing like Geelong. It's 130,000 people, so it's not a small place.
Spread out though.
It is very spread out.
Yeah,
It
feels
is
very spread out. Yeah,
It is very, very spread out.
very
So
noticeable. Big blocks, I presume.
big blocks,
They seem
600,
huge.
700, 800 square meter blocks. I mean, the closer you, as you can imagine, the closer you get to the CBD, the more premium it is. So when we're talking about something like Kennington or something like Strathdale, you're paying for that privilege of being close to the CBD. So sometimes the blocks are 500, 600. But if you go a little bit further out and you picked you picked it, they are dilapidated homes. But to me, probably similar to you, that signals like dollar signs for me because I'm like, okay, I can put some work in.
Yep,
And uplift
potentially,
this.
for sure,
Potentially put some work in and just uplift this.
I didn't
place.
notice too much. I didn't notice too much of that when I was there. I was looking out for it. I'm like, when people building, renovating, I didn't notice too much of it when I was there. But that could just be like
on the street you were on.
Yeah, just pretty much. Like I did drive around looking for it. I'm like, there's a lot of old homes here. Are they going to be turned into charming little beauties? I didn't see many people doing makeovers or many of them looking like charming beauties with the potential that they could. But that may not. That's not a data.
That spells opportunity, though.
Yeah, that change will happen over time as well.
That's right.
Like, rate cutting cycles always promote that over time. I'm not so sure it feeds through to the Bendigo market so much. It's a smaller marketplace. Do you have any housing supply sort of figures? Just
I do. Yeah.
Roughly, that probably has it in the data if we see it. I presume these areas, when you look at suburb levels, that there's not much housing supply coming.
No, there isn't. Yeah, so I think some of the Golden Square ones is we're looking at like 0.3, 0.4% of stock on market.
Yeah,
we're looking at days on market that are sort of like 50 and trending down. So we're starting to see that shift happening a little bit. Golden Square, you can still pick up, probably close to 5% yield, if not a little bit higher, depending on
Three
how
handle?
well.
Can you get three handles? Like 360 Like, can you get it with a 300 and something price point?
Very hard.
Yeah.
We're talking about the fours at least.
Okay,
Yeah, at least high fours, I would say. Probably
Okay.
even low fives. So depending on the condition of the property, that'll probably drive a lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot
I feel
of
like
that
Bendigo, you might be
yeah.
able to find it because there was a lot of really poor properties.
dilapidated. Yeah,
that no one
yeah.
will touch.
But the-
Basically,
but the
build
but-
and pest.
But the flip side is Bendigo, similar to Geelong, similar to the other satellite city we're about to talk about, had a bit of a run. So about before the Melbourne sort of slump, it also had a bit of a run. So a lot of these markets that were 200, 300, maybe not so long ago, they've actually moved into a completely different baseline now. So that's why we're talking about that 400, 500. But it works perfectly with someone who wants a bit of yield, who doesn't want to be in a really, really regional market. It's only a couple of hours from Melbourne.
It's
And
close,
and if you have the appetite, because I know I do, if I can pick up a fixer-upper, put 30 grand in there, it's just really, you can bump it up to you can get
5
a
plus.
lot of ROI out of that.
Maybe
So.
even 6. I love that. There's a lot of economic reasons why Bendigo is really, really good
Yeah.
as well. The thing that I like about it is it's the old gold city, right? Like we'll talk about Ballarat too. That's so far into its past that it is not necessarily its future. But it does export gold around the world as well. So it does make up a portion of its economy. And then it is very, very diverse now. It's also home to Bendigo Bank as well. Like, you're talking about a major financial institution in Australia.
That's right.
It's got a lot of education training. Again, healthcare is huge.
It is.
Tourism, some government spending, and a little bit of manufacturing there as well. So it's got a broadly diverse regional sector economy. So these are the sort of things you look for when you're investing in a regional centre. You want it to be diverse.
Yep.
And it is.
Yep.
Some of the North Queensland issues, North Queensland is a marketplace. We've done a couple episodes on Australian Property Talk with Matt Wilson and with you about the North Queensland marketplace. It is inherently, the mixture of its economy is going to be much more boom-bust sort of cycles.
Yes.
So all the markets that we're talking about are in their boom phase, but they've also had bust phases too.
Correct.
Gladstone's a really good example of a marketplace people will look at. Boom, bust. It has it there. Boom at the moment, bust could happen over time, and that adjustment in the economy is happening, but it still is concentrated by certain sectors in the energy and mining profiles. Bendigo on the flip side, like it's an old gold city, but gold doesn't even pop up on its top 8 sectors of the economy. So it's actually diversified into different sectors. And it's still got that growth story with that population happening over time. So it's got some of the broader fundamentals that you look for. And now the timing of it is that Melbourne sub story going up to Bendigo.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good place to look at for a lot of people at the moment. And I do think a lot of buyers agents will be picking up stock in Bendigo over the next year, positioning for the change.
I agree. And I think you mentioned in the other episode that we did, the BA sort of, the BAs that we're yield focused as well. We will avoid the Melbourne metro markets.
Yep.
Their concentration will be in places like this. But just something to keep in mind, in 12 months, if the prices do rise, there will be yield compression in Bendigo, Geelong and Ballarat as well. So you are probably going to have that normalized back to 4.5%, 4%. And at that point, it's up to you about, the decision you might make going forward. But yes, at the moment, you can still find dilapidated homes, maybe not the best looking home in Bendigo, in some of the really good pockets with really low listings and increasing demand for around that sort of high fours, maybe even,
When
low
do you think
fives.
its growth story will begin?
I think it'll be faster than Geelong. I think it's more attractive to me right now in the next 6 months. I think it'll be faster than Geelong. So I think 2025 might be a decent time to get in. I think 2026, 2027.
Awesome.
We'll see some
Awesome. There you have
fantastic-
it. Adi's take. Bendigo is on pretty much now and going forward. Very, very interesting. Adi, thank you so much. You
Thank you,
shared
man.
so many golden nuggets in this episode as well. Just sprinkled
Golden square
around.
nuggets.
Golden square nuggets and just
Very
little
good.
sprinkled around and
Beautiful.
it's very, very good. And some of the other regional markets we've talked about, I really like these ones because I, like many of you, have a little bit of a fear in buying in a place with 10,000 people or 12,000 people, 20,000 people. And that's okay. Property investing is about you. And if you are not just going to be like data, it's great. I don't want that because I can, apply the logic of, hey, it's a city of 10,000 people. When I want to get out, it could take me a year to get out of this thing because there's no activity or sales transactions. Bendigo, Geelong, and Ballarat, the next episode we're about to go through, those markets are diversified, regional, large, have strong data frameworks in the years ahead, and have the macro story behind them. And stronger yields and good capital growth prospects in the short term. There's a lot going for these markets, and it's something to pay real attention to.